Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ohio State Primetime Live. I'm your co-host Ryan Stano.
And I'm Garrison Gaddy. Before we get started, Ryan, first off, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, if you have family members that sadly not Buckeye fans and they happen to be
That's a shame.
Oklahoma, yeah, it is a shame. It means you're not a champion.
That's right.
But but you be North Carolina, Oklahoma fans, Team Up North fans. We have it all over the network, so please be sure to check that out. Also, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out bocfb.com where you can check out all the writers that we have, the shows, or all the networks. Also, see the daily and weekly schedule there. How to get connected to any of our hosts that are on here, like on social media through X. So yeah, do that and let's get started.
Yeah. First thing on the docket, since we last talked on Thursday, Ohio State has a new member of their 2026 recruiting class, and that is running back Faber Key. He is a four-star running back from just about a half hour north here of Columbus, from Delaware. He goes to Hayes High School, and he's a running back. And he is someone that Ohio State has been favored to land for quite some time. He's someone who Ohio State has kind of had in their back pocket. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds. So, he's got some speed to him.
Yeah.
If you look at his tape, he's someone who's got that breakaway speed. Now, he can break some arm tackles, sure. He's not someone who's really going to overpower anyone necessarily, but if he gets an
Mm.
open space, he's tough to catch. So, what are your thoughts on Carlos Lachlan getting on the board with his first running back recruit of the 2026 class?
Oh, dude, it's a great pickup. I did get a little worried about this commitment for a while. I did get a little nervous, but glad it happened. Again, 6 foot, about 190 pounds. He's a big kid, and I think he runs about 10.9, 10.8, 100-meter dash,
Yeah,
which
he's
means
quick.
he's not just your normal run of the mill athlete out there. Ohio kid, so nothing better than that. Like, again, when you I think Urban Meyer said this, you want to get like the top 6 to 8 best players in your state.
Yep.
He's in my I believe he is one of them. I think that when you have a big tower, like when you have a really good running back in your state like that, you have to get him, especially in the state of Ohio. It'll be no different from like if you were from Texas, but then again, we get the best running backs out of there too, also.
Yeah.
So, but oh man, good pickup by Coach Locke, and the cool part is knowing that like this isn't the last running back we're getting in this class. So that's the good part.
That's the hope. That's the hope. And that was the big thing I was going to bring up is Favors, like, he's a good player.
Mhm.
He's got some good talent. But he is not the crown jewel of this running back class.
No.
And Ohio State's still in on that crown jewel, and that's Savion Hyder. It seems like he is more favored to go to Tennessee
Mhm.
than he is Ohio State. Delusional Michigan fans still think they're in the running for him. They're not. It seems to be the Vols that are holding that recruitment up. So it would be really nice to have a two running back class, to have both Aki and Hyder in the same class. That would be a really solid way to follow up
Yeah.
a pretty good recruiting class last year for his first recruiting class as an Ohio State coach. So, let's cross our fingers and hoping that that they also land Hyder. Now, we are expecting some other recruiting news at some point today. This morning
Mhm.
it looked like they were going to get a commitment. The Ohio State football program, they tweeted out the little Buckeye emoji, sort of Hayes Fawcett from On3. So
Who
we're
do you think it
expecting to get
was?
something.
Who do you think it
It
was?
seems it seems like Evers has been. It seems like it's Evers to me. That's who
Okay, then good.
the
Then
majority of
good.
people
So
seem to
then
think it is.
I won't be premature in this then. All right, cool. No,
Okay,
that's who I had
premature
to.
in what?
Oh no,
Okay,
that's exactly who I was bringing up next.
okay, yeah, go ahead and
No,
talk
I
about it.
again I mean, we were talking about getting players out of Texas. Uh, I think if it's not tonight, and if we were talking about this earlier, if we're lucky, it'll happen tonight. But I
Yeah,
think this is probably gonna happen within the week. It looks that way. Um, And I like from all circles it looks this way, and this would be good for Ohio State. Another again, it's not like a high 5-star offensive lineman in the offensive line position or offensive guard position if he plays, but Tyler Bowen is active and on the recruiting trail, and we
He
haven't
is.
seen this at Ohio State for a very long time. And I'd rather you be active than you not do it at all. Like, don't get me wrong, like we were able to get one big offensive lineman. We could get a Paris or somebody like that, but the offensive line was always thin. The class was always thin. The depth was always thin.
Yeah.
Alabama was trying to make sure that's not the case anymore, and I'm happy about it. And Drew Evers is a good player. He's one of the best players in the state of Texas. That's what matters. So
Evers is definitely a good player. He would be a good, and I hate the way that this is going to come off, but he'd be a good consolation prize if they can't land Felix Ojo,
no, you're
which
right. It's okay.
that's who I'm hoping this commitment could be. I don't think that it is though. It seems in all
Yeah.
likelihood it'll be Evers, and that would probably end their offensive line class for this year. I mean, that would give them basically a full set. I mean,
Yeah.
most of their offensive or most of their recruiting class is comprised of offensive linemen at this point. Of the 14 commits that the Buckeyes have so far, 2, 3. I mean, they've got 3 offensive linemen right now. So if they get Evers, that would be number 4. You typically don't see a team take 5 offensive linemen in a single class. That would be a lot. But to your point, as far as the depth is concerned, Ohio State lost a lot of
Mhm.
depth this past year on the offensive line. So if there was a year where you're going to take 5, this would be the year to do it. So maybe there is hope that they can land Evers and Ojo, in the same class. We'll see. Like I said, if they can't land Ojo, I think Evers is a pretty good consolation prize. And I'd say it'd be if he does land Evers, what would you give Bowen as a grade for his first recruiting class at Ohio State?
B plus,
I
A
was gonna say
minus,
about the
A
same.
minus.
I was gonna say
Like between
I,
there.
I think B plus is probably my ceiling. Yeah. A lot of guys who he's hoping to be able to develop and coach, which quite honestly hasn't really been his MO. He's been more of a recruiter, but they did
Mhm.
hire some analysts to help to really help with that. So
Yeah, and that's
um,
fine. I can live with that.
yeah. So we'll keep you posted if there is any official recruiting news that comes down the wire here during our show. Like I said, if it was going to happen today, we would have thought it would have happened a few hours ago. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure it was taking so long. Maybe it could be these new NIL rules that are popping up. That's our that's
Yeah.
part of the House settlement that we're going to talk about here. So um, since we last talked, the House settlement was officially approved. That happened on Friday. That's
Yeah.
Friday news dump. They went ahead and basically approved something that will change the landscape of not just college football, but college sports in general.
Mhm.
So with this settlement, there comes a lot. And I don't know how much you've dove into it since it's been
Yeah.
approved,
I've
but
got 3 parts, the three parts that I mostly looked at, yeah.
yeah. I'm going to just hit the main parts here, and then you can dive in a little bit deeper
Mhm.
here. So just the main things to take away specific, really for what's going to matter for the Ohio State football program at large. Right now, there is a NIL cap, and this is for the entire athletic department, set for this season for $20.5 million. So the cap is going to go up every year. I think by 2034, 35, it's supposed to go up to like 34 million, like 34.3 or something like that. So it will continue to go up, but that's money to be shared by the whole athletic department. So the Ohio State football program is probably going to get a good chunk of that, but it's not going to get all of
Mhm.
it. So they're going to have to budget for that. Another big deal is, as of right now, for the fall sports, there are no roster limits. Now that will probably change by the time the football season starts. The NCAA has basically been given autonomy to figure that out, like on their
Yep.
own. So we'll see where that number eventually lies. But right now, they schools can do whatever they want. I'm sure they've got some sort of guideline to what the roster limit might be, but that's kind of where it lies right now. And then I guess the third thing for me, and then I'll bounce it to you,
Hmm?
is the back pay that is coming to former athletes. So former athletes are getting paid $2.8 billion in lost NIL earnings, and I think if you were an athlete from 2016 on,
Hmm.
I think that's where the delineation is. So that's a lot of money. I
How
mean,
many
it
how many athletes are there?
oh
And and
thousands.
well, so that was one of the things I put down. My biggest questions for that were like, is it D1 to D3? Um,
Well, I've got some friends who actually played on the Ohio State soccer team. Our senior year was 2016, so they're right there
mhm.
on that cutoff. And my buddy said he wasn't going to really get anything from this settlement.
Well, yeah. So because I this reminded me of when man, I forgot I was part of some settlement with something at a hospital.
Yeah, one of those class
And
action lawsuit things.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I got maybe 15 cents back. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
when I saw this, I'm thinking about all the athletes. I'm thinking about all the divisions because you had to give them all money, right? Uh, let's be honest here. That's a lot of that 2.8 billion. How much of that's football, like football, the money that football made? You think?
I think I'm going to tell you this right now. 60% of that money is probably going to football. 30% is probably going to basketball, both men's and women's. And then the other 10% is divvied up between the rest of the sports. That's mainly how I see it. I mean,
I'll have,
that's
yeah. I mean, you think they're doing it that way, other than doing it like equally?
I don't think they'll do it. They'll have to do it equally as far as what men like the men and women's sports because of Title IX. Like they'll have to break that up equally, but
Right.
there's no
Right.
women's equivalent of football, so they're probably going to get a decent chunk of it.
So, all right. So yeah, I did have that part down. Um, something that really interested me says the settlement gives the schools the power to create new rules
Mm.
designed to limit the influence of boosters and collectives starting this summer. Any endorsement deal between um, the booster and the athlete will be vetted to ensure it is valid business purpose rather than a recruiting incentive. I thought that
Yeah,
was really interesting.
yeah, and I guess I left out the biggest part. Schools are paying students directly, like they're paying the athletes
Yeah.
directly, as opposed to the NIL collectives.
Yeah. Yeah, the annual cap is now roughly 20.5 million per school. Um, increased every year during the decade-long deal. These new payments are in addition to scholarships and other benefits the athletes already receive.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, it's also salary caps and free agency restrictions in professional sports are legal because they are negotiated as part of the collective bargaining agreement with the union. College sports leaders say many schools won't be able to afford to fund their teams if players are deemed to be employees and allowed to unionize. So there's a lot about it I don't like, but we're in reality here. Um,
this was going to be like the last. I mean, this was going to be kind of the last ditch
yeah,
effort to save the bones of the NCAA.
yeah,
And Ohio State already has created their own. Uh, collective isn't the right word, but their own way of funding the payments directly to the athletes. I think it's called Buckeye Sports Commission or something like that,
yeah.
and or Buckeye Sports Collective.
You mean to here? I can bring this up right now. Actually, one
Yeah,
second.
go ahead. And that's how they're
Uh,
going to go ahead and facilitate all the payments.
Yeah, because just for anyone that hasn't seen this yet, I'll read it with you guys here. Or at least part of it. It's not too long, but I'll read part of it. But Ohio State Athletics and Learfield launch this new initiative, like you said, I would call it. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily NIL,
yeah.
but it says here the Ohio State University Department of
Buckeye
Athletics,
Sports Group.
yeah, and Learfield's Ohio State sports properties have announced the formation of Buckeye Sports Group (BSG). a groundbreaking initiative designed to support, streamline, and enhance name, image, and likeness NIL opportunities for Ohio State student athletes by creating a dedicated team of NIL leaders. The strategic partnership will empower Buckeye student athletes to maximize their brand value while competing at the highest level. I will put the link here for everyone else here so you can go and read it. But no, that's big news for Ohio State, and am I surprised? No. I think I would have to assume our new AD Ross Bjork has something to do with this, a lot to do with
Absolutely.
this.
Yep.
I'm first off, let me say I am very happy that he's our athletic director.
I think this is part of the reason why he was hired by Ted Carter,
Yeah.
because he saw the writing on the wall. So I think it's good foresight by him, quite frankly.
Just some words I'm finding for you here, but yeah, it's right here. It says the Buckeye Sports Group will support Ohio State student athletes with comprehensive efforts within 3 key areas: deal facilitation, management, content creation, and storytelling, and support services. So right here, you guys can see some of the things they're doing with it. It's really cool. On top of that, some of the leaders from the foundation on their board are on here for BSG.
And 1870.
Yep.
Yep.
So and they came out and it looks like everyone's on the same page, and that's what you like to see. Everyone coming together for one common goal.
Yeah, and I mean they've had a few months to kind of put this together. Like the House settlement was initially denied back in April because of the whole roster limits thing. So they've had, a good 90, or not 90 days, a good, 45 days to really get that nailed down. And quite frankly, they had longer than that because they knew that this settlement was coming. So it's good to see that they do have their ducks in a row right away. Like they're ready to go, and there won't be any delay with this Buckeye Sports Group, and they can start, unifying the NIL effort pretty much from day one.
Yeah, and again, like if doggone it, man, if someone's gonna take advantage of what's going on now, I'd rather be my program. I'm not gonna sit here and boo hoo as much as I want to about it. I'm only 30. I feel like the old man here. I'm only 32 years old. But
I'm 31. I'm right there with you. Like I think we both miss. I think we're both kind of disenchanted with what has happened in college sports, just in general. And I think a lot of fans feel that way, where it's just everything seems to be a money grab, like just absolutely everything, and nothing else matters in terms of competitiveness, like the experience for the fans who help fund this whole damn thing. It's frustrating, and I wonder if there will be a point at some point where all of this stuff starts to drive enough fans away from the game where their golden goose is it's going to burst. Like there's not going to be enough new fans flowing in. In fact, they're going to start losing fans where the value of the brand start going down. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be sitting there looking at themselves like, what the hell happened here? I do wonder if there is a point where that'll eventually happen. I don't know if that point's going to be anytime soon, in the next 5 years, but 10, 15, if things start going down the line, I can especially see that happening if there end up being 2 super conferences, because then you are going to lose half the country in terms of viewership. And then that's going to cut your TV contract, and that's going to cut all kinds of money coming into these schools. So I don't know.
The Rob Favre, he says, let's be honest, all college sports was way better with shady $100 handshakes behind the scenes. You're not lying.
So they could buy a liter of cola.
Those, yeah, I mean, those are the good days, man. When you could just, say,
well, and to be honest, that's why the SEC. That's why the SEC was so good for so long. Now that it's illegal, they can't compete. They broke down there.
Man, I miss the old some of those Trestle days, man. Those later years when I knew my team was paid for and bought, and I did not care. I was a young kid, didn't care.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knew. No one necessarily cared, and that's part of what I worry about now. But I mean, I worry about it with just in college sports in general, but I don't necessarily worry about it with Ohio State. because Ryan Day has said multiple times that he is not like NIL is not the forefront of their recruiting strategy. Yes, I did see this, Doreen. Yes, we are young.
Oh my gosh, that's like
But NIL is not like at the forefront of how they try to bring recruits in.
Mhm.
NIL is a supplemental thing. Now, of course, they're still going to offer big packages for a select few type of recruits. The Jeremiah Smiths that come in. If they're able to land Felix Ojo, someone like him, they're going to give the premium guys a lot of NIL opportunities. But the other thing that I worry, and I don't know about worry because this would actually benefit Ohio State, but they within the settlement as well, it was brought up that there was going to be a task force that was going to be put together to essentially uh, enforce these rules that are being set in. And they brought in a guy from the MLB, Brian Seeley, to
Yep.
go ahead and oversee that committee. He's the CEO of that committee. And this committee is going to be in charge of, like I said, essentially dishing out punishments and making sure that everything is above board with this. There are several ADs and coaches within college football that have already come out anonymously and said, "How the hell are you going to enforce this? Like, unless they show their teeth like right away,
Mhm.
there is no way that you're going to be able to figure out who's getting paid what amount and whether or not it is above board." So until we kind of figure that out and until we find out exactly how committed this new commission is going to work as far as enforcement goes, Ohio State might have a lot more five-star recruits than people are used to.
No, for sure. What? So how do you think they're going to be able to track what donors are doing and boosters are doing with some of the players, making sure that's not. I don't know how you're going to enforce making sure that it's not incentive for commitments for high school players. That's going to be really difficult to do. But
I think the thought process behind this is now that you're
mhm,
giving the schools the direct pathway to paying players, that's how the agencies are going to be able to enforce this because they have a paper trail going directly from the school to these recruits to these current players on each roster, and that's how they're going to be able to do their accounting to kind of figure out who's doing what. Now, like every company, you can store some cash offshore or squirrel something away and not exactly report it to the IRS or in this case the NCAA. So I don't. Again,
you sound like a pro at it there, Ryan.
well,
Trying to
I'm
sell
I'm
something?
just I'm just talking things out here.
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
but I don't. And like I said, until we actually see it in action, I
Mhm.
don't really know how they are going to be able to enforce this in any sort of hard line. But let's be honest, it's not any different from how the NCAA is run right now anyway. It's not like they do a great job of following up with their punishments. I mean, hell, Michigan's been
Mhm.
in court for 4 days and we still haven't heard jack on their punishment. So I don't know.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I don't like I said, I think you said it all right there. At the end of the day, I think this is good for Ohio State. I think this is something that's gonna give us the upper hand. Again, I don't believe this is gonna just flat out help even the playing field in college football.
No.
Um, I think that Ohio State though is doing the right thing. I think that they run the program like an NFL team, like an NFL organization.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, right now, I think right now Ohio State is the best ranked program in college football, and I don't think it's close. Just the way they go about it. And on top of that, when you look at the resources we have, it, yeah, it's a good time. I mean, it's a good time for them. They're doing the right thing. They got the coach, they got the AD, they got the money, they got the boosters, the
Yeah.
faculty.
One thing I will
A
say,
program.
one thing I will say that I am concerned about, and this is Ross Bjork did come out and say that he, even with these new rules, he is going to try to keep all 36 varsity sports up and running at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Now, that is not going to be the case across the country. There are going to be
No.
programs that have to cut sports that are
Yep.
non-revenue generating. And I think that sucks. For someone who loved playing a non-revenue generating sport, I think that it would be a terrible. I think it's just it's sad that we're at this point where
Hmm.
the majority, the majority of schools around the country aren't going to be able to afford to keep sports around, like you know, pistol, synchronized swimming, hell, even like golf programs might go away. Like there's some programs that don't have baseball anymore, and a lot of this is driven strictly because of football related money. Now,
Yes. Yes.
Ohio State, they do a good job of being able to bring in money from their football program, and that helps essentially subsidize some of these non-revenue generating sports. But not all the programs across the country are able to do that. So I hope Ross is right where he's going to be able to keep all 36 sports. But when you're operating at a $38 million deficit in the athletic department, I'm not sure how that works. And that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, you hate to see it. I mean, even think about sometimes people forget about uh some of these JUCO schools, NCAA. There's a lot of programs, a lot of sports that are gonna go away in the wind. Which is something that why I really hate this.
Yeah.
I played college football, but I do appreciate the I appreciate colleges having the ability to give other athletes the chance to play the sport at another level, be able to earn money for the help out with a scholarship or make sure like a grant, something that helps out, so you don't have to take out too much loan money.
Yeah.
So no, but hey, somebody's got to lose.
Unfortunately,
That's an evil way to say it, but
yeah. And this is part of the reason why I think college sports is just
uh,
getting a little grimy. Stuff like this happens because it's like I said, it's a money grab. Now, I don't really have a good solution to
mhm,
this issue.
yeah.
So I don't really know, how much more they can do. So, this is gonna be the lay of the land moving forward for not just Ohio State football, but for all college sports. And it's gonna be interesting to see year after year how much of the NIL budget is allocated to the Ohio State football program. But we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Get your business, product, service, or personal brand to the next level by partnering with the Voice of College Football. Let's discuss how you also can reach your target market. Check out the experience of one of our current partners, that being Win Agency, here on the screen. We are here to deliver for you. Contact us at sponsorships at vocfb.com. Again, that is sponsorships at vocfb.com today.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All righty.
Well, while we're waiting for our guests to get ready right now, by the way, I didn't know if you saw this, Ryan.
I was gonna say,
Go
there's
ahead.
one other thing I wanted to bring up too, and
No,
I'm hoping
go
same
ahead.
thing you want to talk about.
No,
Well,
go ahead.
we were talking about recruiting earlier, and I forgot to mention this kid from the class of 2028 that Ohio State offered.
Oh,
And
the D lineman.
this the lineman. This kid
Yeah.
is 14. Here, let me see if I can pull it up so everybody can see just how mammoth this kid is. His name is Caleb Tucker. He's 6'5", 335 pounds, and his nickname is Bone Crusher. When you have a nickname like that, that is quite a
Yeah.
that's quite a reputation. But this picture is really what got me. Uh, this is really what got me kind of looking at it. So, um, I mean, this just look at how big this kid is. That's a massive human being, and he's 14. This is freshman year. He's 14 years old.
That kid's huge. Yeah, dude. When I saw Jug post that, I went, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, it's absurd. That's just all I wanted to bring up is they're
Think
feeding these kids something different up there in Chicago apparently.
that he's almost as big as Terrence Cody.
I know. And
Oh,
I mean he's 14. He's probably only going to get bigger.
well, everyone, we have a special guest coming up here. Our friend Mark Rogers. Mark, how are you? And good to see you.
Doing well, guys. Good to see you as well. As soon as I jumped in the back room, you were running that Amazon link video, and I thought you guys need to get a better pitch man than that guy.
But we want to bring you on today to talk about your book. I still have to buy it. And Disputed National Champions. What can you tell us about it? I read right here in this book, you'll learn what happened during the 1990s, how the decade changed the sport, why the championship results should be questioned. I have a lot of questions about that and which ones you think should be questioned.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
How to critically think through scenarios to appreciate the accomplishments of teams that were not recognized as champions.
Yeah. So, quick history lesson would be that the AP poll started in 1936, and then the coaches poll about 15 years later. I think it was 1950. And so, from that time all the way into the 1990s, nothing changed. There was a vote at the end of the year. And you guys can't relate to this, but when I used to go to bed when I was 8 or 10 years old on New Year's Day, you had a pretty good idea who won the national championship, but you didn't know for sure. It wasn't like you just watched the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals. It wasn't like that's it. We know. No, you went to bed and you were like, I think Miami won the national title, but maybe Notre Dame did. Maybe they'll vote them or them. Like you didn't know, and you'd have to wait until the morning and get the newspaper and be like, "Oh yeah, Miami got 50 votes and down. Oh, they won the national championship. There we go." So I've always questioned the naming of national champions by sports writers, and I chose the 1990s. So this book goes through every season of the 1990s, and I always thought that the 1990s, if I would eventually like to write a series of these and go through all the different decades. But I chose the 1990s because it was the time when things changed the most. It was the most formative decade because in 1990 or 91, they introduced the Bowl Coalition. The other thing that I used to wonder, and it didn't take me long to figure it out, but when I first became a college football fan, like I'm 8, 9 years old, and I'm wondering, why is number 1 playing number 7? Why is number 2 playing number 4 and number 3 is playing number 19? What, that doesn't make any sense. But then you realize, okay, they're tied to conferences, and the SEC goes to the Sugar, and the Rose has the Pac-10 and the Big Ten, and so I respected that, but we didn't have 1 and 2 play hardly ever, and that finally got straightened out to a certain extent in the early 90s, where they would put 1 and 2 together, except if they played in the Big Ten and the Pac-10, because those two conferences said, no, we want to go to the Rose Bowl. Our champions are going to the Rose Bowl regardless. So that kind of played and messed things up certain years. And then obviously we finally got the BCS, where we got a national championship game in 1998. So I thought the 1990s was the most interesting decade and the one that obviously, again, created the most change to get us where we are now. And so I'll let you guys talk in a second. I take every season and I basically set the season up to say, this was the preseason hype. These are the teams that were being talked about. This was kind of the storylines leading into the season. And then I go through all the big games of the season, the big plays, the controversial calls, and then say, okay, this was the preseason top 5 or 10. And then here's the final rankings after the regular season. Here's how the bowl matchups played out, who was matched up against whom. Here's the postseason, how that played out. Here's the final vote. And then the real crux of it is, okay, did the final vote get this right? Who got screwed? Who got left out? Why'd they get left out? Did somebody undeservedly get elevated to national championship status? What was the impact of this season? Did it launch a dynasty or end a dynasty or change a coaching career or whatever? And so it's a lot of history, but it's not just a history book. I didn't want to write a history book because I knew that a lot of people would tune out of just a history book. So the most fun part of this was I took each one of these seasons, 1990 through 99, and I put it into the future playoff formats. I put it into the BCS era to show how it would have played out in the BCS era. I put it into the 14 playoff era to show who the 4 would have been selected and how that would have played out. Put it into the 12 team, and then the proposed. I screwed up on this one because what was being talked about when I wrote this book was a 14 team playoff. So I did a 16. They screwed me on that one. Those are really interesting to see. Who would have been in a playoff back in the 1980s, yeah. And then also there were no conference championship games in 1990, and then the SEC launched its first one in 92. So we also go through and say, this is who would have been in the 1995 Big Ten championship game. And, we show all the would-be championship games, and then we show all the would-be conference championship games if they were based on the realignment and the way they're configured right now. So it's a lot of fun stuff for geeks that like to get into that kind of, those kind of arguments.
Well, this is actually really interesting. Rishi asked real quick. He says, Mark, who would have won in 97 and why would have Nebraska won by 3 scores?
Nice. All right. This is, especially since we're on this channel and I've been on the other channel.
Of course.
The team up north. What's so funny about what he's bringing up there, Richie, good to see you, is that I did a live stream a couple years ago. And it was nothing but, we're going to talk about the 1997 season and the split national title. And you guys are going to be shocked when I tell you this, but, we had however many hundred people in the chat and leaving their comments, and I was taking calls. We didn't have one Michigan fan who admitted in any way that Nebraska had any chance, that there's no way Michigan would have lost a matchup in a championship game in 97.
This is my shocked face hearing that.
We also, to be fair, we didn't have any Nebraska fans that called or left their comments in the chat that gave Michigan any chance. And that was the time that I thought, okay, I have definitely determined and confirmed the complete bias of almost every college football fan on the planet. If they can't even admit to, oh, they might have won or they would have been a really good game. No, none of that. So to answer Richie's question, my intent in this book is not to tell you who the better team is. It's more or less, this was the season, these are the resumes, these are the results, and why did this team get left out? It makes no sense. Or why did this team get elevated to this spot? It makes no sense. One of the reasons I did this was I was producing videos like 5-6 years ago, something in that range. You guys can look them up, like 1983, 84, 90, 2000, even did 96, even though people just hand that national championship to Florida in 96. Ohio State has a claim not to unseat Florida, but to have a share of the national championship. And people really like the videos. and they kind of wanted me to tell them who I thought was going to win, but that wasn't the intent. It was more like, these are the resumes, and here's who got screwed, and this is why this is a dumb system.
Ohio State would have had a better claim to that 96 title had they not lost to Michigan again, thanks to John Cooper. But winning that Rose Bowl definitely gave them a shot. So specific to this book, was there any team that you thought got what team do you think got the worst shake of any of the teams in the 90s in terms of their claims for a national title?
So you got 1993 Notre Dame. So in 93, Notre Dame played Florida State in what was called the game of the century, which comes across about every year that there's a game of the century. But anyway, it was Notre Dame and Florida State in 93, and Notre Dame won the game in South Bend. And then the next week they lost to Boston College. And when you hear Boston College, people are thinking, oh, well, they suck. Notre Dame shouldn't have lost. Boston College was a 9-3 team that finished like 13th in the country. They weren't an awful team, and they kicked a late field goal last play of the game to beat Notre Dame. And so that knocked Notre Dame back out of number one. Well, as the season played out, both teams finished 12-1, and Florida State, quote unquote, won the national championship. I don't like to say it that way. They were voted the national champion. Notre Dame's got the same record. They beat them head to head. Why don't they have a share of the national championship, if not the national championship? And then 1994, Penn State. Anytime you've got a situation, it's almost exactly like 91, Miami, Washington, and 97, Nebraska, Michigan, that if you got two major powers, they both play super legitimate schedules. I just think that if they didn't play, then they're both a national champion. There's no reason in every other situation like that where two teams were undefeated, they split a national championship, but Penn State got snubbed and they don't get to share a national championship. If I'm Penn State, I'm hanging a banner. Maybe they have, I don't know.
What championships do you think should be brought into question? Like, give me your top three if you have them.
During this decade, I brought up one in 1993. Obviously, once we got to 1998 and 9, those are BCS championships. So
yep.
I have a lot of issues with the BCS, but at least there was a championship game. Buckeye fans may remember 1998. Now, you talk about a crazy scenario. And I remember living out 1998, it's before your time. 1998, I was covering the SEC championship game. I was in Atlanta in the press box covering. Tennessee was number one. They were down in the fourth quarter. And Ohio State needed Tennessee to lose. They needed some combination, Kansas State. And they got a couple of those things to happen, but they needed Tennessee to lose, and they pulled it out. That year, you tell me who should be in the BCS championship game. Tennessee's number one. They're undefeated. Okay, they are. Ohio State's got one loss. Wisconsin, Florida State, Arizona, UCLA, and I'm missing somebody else. There were 6 teams with one loss. 6 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who goes to the national championship game? So Florida State just remarkably, they're the team that lost to the worst team and by the most points. They lost to NC State by 17 points. They got to go to the BCS championship game. And Ohio State kind of got screwed out of that, although other teams would have also had a claim there.
Yeah, just don't lose to Michigan State again. Like that one hurts because that team was really, really good. That one and the 95 team are the two that fans don't really get over. The 96 team, I mean, losing to Michigan always hurts, but 98, 95 were two of the most talented Ohio State football teams ever.
Yeah, 98, they led Michigan State. I know they lost 28-24. I think they were up 24-9 in that game.
Yeah,
Mark,
it was rough.
It was rough.
I do have a question for you, Mark. On your show throughout the week, I didn't catch it today. Are you keeping that shirt up? I saw you got that shirt on today. So are you gonna have it up, or are you gonna still be the fair, like, stay neutral in your show, or are you gonna have that up?
It is a factually correct shirt. They
It
are
is.
the reigning national champions.
Yes, we're starting a tradition this year where we're hanging the shirt of the national champion. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
I don't know what
Sounds
to
like
tell
you
you.
won't have to get a new shirt this year then.
No, we'll just leave that one up for a few years. Yeah, absolutely. Can't answer that question. I just wanted to show it off, and so I just
No,
throw it
it's
up there.
all. It's a beautiful shirt. You should hang it in the loop, honestly. But
It's a great shirt.
well, Mark, is there anything else you want to leave everyone with? Where they can find you, and also where they can buy this book?
Yeah, so the book is Disputed National Champion. So you can just go to Amazon and put that title in, and it should pop right up. Or the link is actually in the description section of this video. So you can grab it there. You can do either one. And don't take my word for it. We've gotten, oh man, well, officially at Amazon, there might be 30 or 40 comments, but coming into the channel, over 100 comments, and nobody's said a bad thing about it. Everybody seems to love it, enjoy it. So don't take my word for it. It's only $9.99, and it's a quick read. As you can see, you're not going to be buried in this thing for months or anything. So I tried to do a thorough job without making it like a term paper project for people to have to read through. So
Well, yeah, I'll read one of these. I'll read one of the comments right here, actually. And for everyone out there, it's a 4.9 out of 5. The writer says, this is from Martin McPadden. He says, I just finished reading Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historical Reset. And I have to say, it's an absolute must read for anyone who's a college football fan or just loves the sport in general. The author does an incredible job of analyzing the history of college football and presenting a well-researched and compelling argument. The writing is top-notch, and with Mark's knowledge and logical analysis, he would be an amazing fit for a major sports network analyst role. Trust me, you won't regret it. So right there, everyone, make sure to go out there and check it out. That's a great comment, actually. That's an awesome compliment.
thanks for reading that, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that. Well, guys, thanks for having me. You guys do a phenomenal job. You guys are spearheading our Buckeye coverage here, of which you guys have done a nice job of taking over and providing some great analysis. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you guys.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Good night.
Bye.
You too. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go.
I always do that voice clicking.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Real quick, everyone, just a reminder to make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Again, all we ask for you to do is hit the like button and subscribe. That's some of the best currency you can give us.
That's
also,
right.
if you would like to become a member, please press the join button and see the tiers there we have as well. We have this upcoming season, a lot of content coming. And while we're here, let's give a shout out to all of our members. That's Asia Posh, Queen Doreen, AZ Bug Guy, Philly Fan, Ake Rocker, One Goes, Matthew Miller, James Williams, Kinetic 615, CW2, Open Mike, Robert Howard, and Steve Halwagen. Thank you guys for being part of this network, being members on this channel. And I actually want to bring this to your attention. I'm not sure if you were aware of I don't want to screw up the name here. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. The Ford, the K4 rankings, yes. K4 rankings. Are you a big fan of these, of the other rankings?
I am not. I haven't seen these.
Okay. Oh, you haven't before?
I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen them in the past,
Okay.
but I don't think I have not seen this version.
All right, so this is the new. This came out today. They dropped they ranked the entire college football nation, but this right here is the top 25 or top 30. I apologize. Anything, it's a little different from the FPI. I do prefer for K4's rankings over FPI, but what do you take from it?
My take is this is another SEC heavy
Yes.
ranking system. I mean, 3 of the top 4 are SEC teams. 6 of the top 10. I'm sorry, 5 of the top 10. 7 of the top 12. And look, this is obviously, I mean, this is, as it says at the above, this is a predictive measure. This is how many, points per game above average that he thinks these teams are going to score. So this isn't even necessarily predicting who the best team is. This is who he thinks is just going to score the most points above average based off the schedule that they have to play. So what that also tells me is he must think a lot of SEC teams have pretty damn easy schedules because there's a lot of SEC teams on this list.
Yeah.
I don't really take a whole lot from this list, if I'm being completely honest. The fact that it's got, the lone ACC team in the top 12 is Clemson. I think they should probably be a little higher.
I agree.
I mean, the Big 12 is only represented in number 19. That's the first team that shows up with SMU. So
SMU ahead of Arizona State, I think, is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State lost a lot of.
I know. I know you're not a believer, but I am.
You are.
I'm a believer.
Also, I mean, I like Kenny Dillingham. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a great coach. I just think they're going to take a step back this year. I mean, obviously, it's a little hard to make the playoff back-to-back years. At least in the Big 12 when you're like that. But what do you think about the list?
If I'm just working down the list, I do think Alabama's too high. I posted the other day that I'm a little slow on the Alabama offensive line hype. Last year, and I rewatched some of the highlights from the Oklahoma game, the Vanderbilt game, and the Wolverine game, and all those games. And then you can't help but go back to the Georgia game too, because that did happen. you came out and cracked them over the head, and then they came back with ease, and they probably should have won that game. But there were a lot of times last season where that offensive line got destroyed, just completely destroyed. And so I know that it's probably one of the most talented offensive lines out there right now. But like I said, I think they're very talented, but just good. And I had to see more out of them. Penn State, I think they're fine. Oregon, I'm getting a little more weary with Oregon now. Of course, the news comes out that Evan Spencer is probably likely gone for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Right, I had no problem. I was on my Skip Bayless-ish right away after the injury. I said, okay, well, hey, DeCorian Moore, prove it to me. Like, all that talk, all that jibber jabber, all that dribbling out of the mouth. I want to see it now. Clemson, I agree with you, too low. LSU, too low. I believe the top 5 teams in the nation are Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, and Clemson. So
I'm not nearly as high on LSU as you are. But I again, this is a list of, again, relative to their schedules, how many points above average he thinks they're going to score. So this isn't even necessarily indicative of who he thinks. This isn't necessarily the final ranking list.
Exactly.
I think that's important to keep.
But I mean, just in terms of how I think those players can do. But the point you bring up about the schedule means that's very true. Nebraska at 10.4. I think that's a pretty good spot for them. I do think that they're going to be one of those teams that can possibly make the playoff.
Illinois is low on this list for their schedule, for how easy that schedule is. They should have more points than that against the average.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think
26
they're
behind
gonna,
Louisville.
I think they're going to win a lot of those games, Illinois. But I think a lot of those are going to be some close games, and I think they're going to pull it out because they have they have a really good defense, and they have the veteran quarterback. So that's why I think Illinois will take advantage of some teams in late game situations. I'm trying to Texas A&M.
I don't get it, dude. Every year Every year
Oh
they overrate
man.
them, and they suck
Now,
every single year.
let me say this. And look, I am a manalytics type of guy, all right? I think analytics should be used when necessary. Um Oklahoma and Florida are up there, and I've been listen.
Dude.
I have first class tickets on both of those trains. I think Oklahoma and Florida are gonna be. I think they're gonna be oddly good this season. Oddly good for different
Yeah,
separate reasons.
the word is odd. Yes, that is the operative word there.
I mean, but you see the Wolverines up there right behind Miami. That's I think Michigan's schedule is harder than that. I don't think I wouldn't say 19 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then oh no, we went over that. We did go over that. But
Yeah.
I
And
also had,
I'm
go ahead.
go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was say I had another question for you. So I kind of sent everyone in a tizzy, a bunch of Wolverine fans over the weekend saying that Chase Young was the best defensive end of all time in the Big Ten.
Where was there a lie told there?
Well, I got. Let me pull it up here because
I saw the tweet.
Yeah, I had Washington fans bringing up what's his nuts. Yeah, like I can't even think of his name because I wouldn't even.
If you can't even think of his name, then that's a problem for Washington fans.
I wouldn't even think. I would have never thought of the guy. Oh shoot, what was his name? It was.
Look through some of your replies. See if you can
No, I'm
figure it
going
out
through
from
it
there.
right now. Oh, one guy said Abdul Carter.
No.
One guy said Abdul Carter was better than Chase Young.
No. There's one person who's got an argument.
Huli Kikaha. He had a year where he had 12 and a half and then 19 sacks. But buddy, that was in the Pac-12. I'm sorry.
Congrats, you did in the JV conference.
Yeah, and that was in 2014. Don't care.
Yeah. No, there's one person that has an argument over Chase Young. Like there's only one, and it's Micah Parsons. That's the only guy. That's the only guy who's got a claim to be a better defensive end than Chase Young. And I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm saying he's.
What awards did Micah rack up?
So,
because the problem is this: Micah didn't go to New York City.
Exactly, and
there are other Big Ten defensive ends that have.
So when Micah won the
Hutchinson isn't better than him. We know that. We all know that.
Yeah.
We all know that.
So he was a consensus All-American in 2019. He was the Big Ten linebacker of the year, first team All Big Ten. That's the thing, is he was a hybrid. So he played mostly linebacker at Penn State. So that's why, I wouldn't even necessarily put him there. No, I did see a bunch of Michigan fans try to say Aiden Hutchinson. That's just wrong. That's just flat out wrong. That's just complete and utter nonsense.
One guy's a 4-year letterman, one guy's a 3-year letterman.
Yeah. And the fact, you mentioned the fact that Chase Young was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Obviously, that puts him, pretty high up there.
Won both Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Yes.
One of the best defensive end award.
Yep.
Did he win Big Ten Player of the Year or did Justin?
I think he did. I think Chase Young did.
Yeah. He like for all. Listen, guys. I in 2019, if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, listen, take Joe Burrow out of the question, okay? Because he's a quarterback.
And here's all the awards Chase Young won in 2019. Just so before you go ahead and tell how good he was, he won the Bronco Nagurski Award, the Chuck Bednarik Award, the Ted Hendricks Award. He was a unanimous All-American. He was voted Big Ten Male Athlete of the Year. Like the whole damn Big Ten thought he was so good. He was the Big Ten MVP in addition to the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. First team All Big Ten. And he was a Heisman Trophy finalist. That's just all in just 1 year. Just 1 year.
Finished ahead of Justin in the Heisman voting, by the way.
Yes, he did.
And people forgot. I think,
and he should have.
Yeah, and I think I could be wrong here, but Dobbins finished top 10 in the voting also that season.
Maybe
he might have. I think he might have finished top 10 in the voting. Can you check that for me?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right here. So this is the Heisman Trophy voting, just so you know. So obviously it was Joe Burrow, which, by the way, former Buckeye. I wouldn't even say, he's a former Buckeye.
He practices at our facility more than he does at LSU's. Okay,
that's right. Number 2 was Jalen Hurts. Justin Fields actually did finish ahead of Chase Young. He was 3. Chase Young was 4. Jonathan Taylor was 5. J.K. Dobbins was 6. So 3 Buckeyes in the top.
Dude, think about
6.
the players that you're behind.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Chase Young, and Jonathan Taylor.
Also, this is the first time I'm seeing this. The stats between J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, they're almost literally the same.
Oh, yeah,
they both ran for 2,003 yards and 21 touchdowns. The difference is J.K. Dobbins did it in 19 fewer carries. So he had 6.7 yards a carry. Taylor had 6.3 yards a carry. And Taylor still somehow finished higher.
Yeah, like what I was going to say, man, was this. Because you separate – I'm taking the quarterbacks out of this. The best non-quarterback player in college football this season was Chase Young, and it was by far. It was by far. But that was probably the closest – that was like watching Jadeveon Clowney again. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
It was freaky out. And mind you, like I saw this dude. Like he came into Ohio State 225.
Yeah. He bulked up. As we both have said, he's the best Ohio State football player I've ever seen.
I've ever seen in my life. And it sucks because was I alive when Eddie George played? Yeah, but
I was alive. Yeah, I didn't see. I wasn't watching him play. Yeah.
And listen, man, we've seen CJ. I mean, listen, like Jeremiah's
got a shot.
He has the championship, which helps. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
the difference. I mean, Chase. Yeah. He would just wreck games single-handedly.
What does he have to do? What does he have to do? Because I will tell you this: the reason I do have Chase Young there is because he's not dependent on anybody else. No. He ain't dependent on anybody else. So what do you think? Actually, you know what, Ryan? I want to show you this freaky photo before we go.
You do that, and I'll answer your question because I know what you're going to ask me. What does Jeremiah have to do to take that crown from Young? In my mind. And what I think he's got to do, he's already, like you said, he's already got a championship, so that certainly helps. I think he's got to have a Heisman Trophy finalist season. He doesn't have to win it because there's only been one true wide receiver that's won it. That was Devontae Smith, and we saw him firsthand how damn good he was. Beating us up and down the field with Tuck Borland guarding him.
Doesn't help you put linebackers on him.
Yeah. I think he's got to have that, and I think he just has to show that he is by far, which I think he did at the end of last season. He's just got to keep the dominance that he had during the college football run, like during the college football playoff run. So, that's what I think he needs.
All right, so this photo here, I found this, and all right, so you can clearly see the ball right there behind the center, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at Chase Young and look at everybody else.
Yeah, his get off. Yeah,
that's insane. No one's moving.
It's a shame he wasn't able to do that in the NFL.
It doesn't help when you get those injuries, man. My God.
Yeah.
But hey, at least you did it for the Buckeyes.
That's right.
That's all I ask you to do. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't want you to do well at all. To be honest with you, Chase.
Yeah.
Well, to an extent, I want him to do well.
Anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, everyone. Just be sure to Wednesday to tune in to see Mark, Steve, and them on at 11 a.m. Also on Wednesday night, the World Famous Buckeye Show with Terry and Mike at 7:30. So be sure to catch that. And then also at 8 o'clock on Thursday, the call-in show with myself and Ryan. But outside of that, is be sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, we will see you guys on Thursday at 8. Bring your comments and questions, and hopefully we'll have at least one new recruit to talk about by then, but who the hell knows at this point? We'll see. We'll see you guys on Thursday. OH.
IO.
World famous Ohio State Buckeyes